ultimately it comes down to grit, determination, mentality, and those are three prerequisites, in my opinion, that we should have every single game.
So Dan, we're going into the Coventry game. We've shown in the past during the season, perhaps after Millwall ahead of Peterborough, that we can bounce back from a setback. How important is to have that mindset going into Saturday?
Very important. I think we know that what happened on Tuesday night was unacceptable. I think until a deflected lucky goal, we were in the game. I thought first half we controlled the ball a lot better than we did in the second half. I thought second half we were probably a little bit too open, maybe not aggressive enough in terms of 1v1 duels, in terms of how we press, in terms of how we defend as a team, and we got punished. And you can't afford against teams like Birmingham, who we know are going to be aerially aggressive. They know they're going to try and put us under pressure. We can't afford to be as loose as what we was at times in that second half.
Is that how do you address that? Because you obviously can do a lot in training, but when it comes to the game time, what do you need to do to really kind of be that aggressive team you need to be?
I think at times this year we've shown that we can grind results out. There's been games that haven't been pretty. I think you look at the Peterborough game for a prime example of that, where it wasn't pretty. The performance was not the best, but we, in adversity of going behind, we came back and won the game. And that has showed a different side to, I think, what we've shown in recent seasons. But that just can't be a kind of once a month thing or once in a blue moon thing. That's got to be an every week thing. And sometimes we'll play against teams that will allow us to play, and we can play all the pretty football in the world. But ultimately it comes down to grit, determination, mentality. And those are three prerequisites, in my opinion, that we should have every single game. And that's whether we're playing against someone who plays expansive football and keeps the ball on the floor, or someone that wants to bombard our 18-yard box.
That consistency, and Nigel talked about this after the game, that's frustrating not having that. Do you think those elements you just talked about then, if you had more of those, then we'd have more consistent performances and results?
For sure, yeah, 100%. And that's, so much has been made about the results at home, and the way we've lost points at home this season. And I think if you'd have had a little bit of a combination of all those things that I mentioned previously in those moments, along with calm heads and good decision making, I think we'll be sat here with a lot more points, and everything would seem a lot more positive. But we haven't, and we're not. So let's be real. We need to have those things in abundance, and I think being difficult to beat and difficult to score against is something that we're not at the moment, and that's a hard thing to say, because it's not something that I think we certainly don't want. It's not something that I think is certainly not coached to us. It's not something that's in our DNA, if you like, but we are that at the moment. I think the gaffer made reference to soft touch after the game. That's not something that, as a player in a dressing room, and I'm sure I can speak on behalf of the rest of the players, that's not something that we want to be associated with. So if it takes getting a little bit more nasty, a little bit more aggressive, and having a little bit more nous as a team to go and perform the dark arts, if you like Birmingham did the other day. They're a tough team to play against, and they do it well. If it takes having all those things to get points and results, and to not lose games, because if we come in at half time after a deflected goal, which was really lucky, and if we come out the second half, we get the first goal, minimum we would expect there is a draw, and we'd ideally like to go on and win the game, but we can't afford to play like we did in the second half and expect to come away with anything. So mentioning those things that I mentioned previously is certainly something that we need more of, and we need to show it every single game on a consistent basis, not just kind of when it suits.
We have some young players in the team who've done really well. When there is a bit of a rocky patch, what do you need to say to those players who, some of them haven't played at this consistently, this level, perhaps it's their first season, as senior players, how do you get them through that time?
Well, first and foremost, I think you need to understand, what those players are thinking, whether they're going through a tough time physically, emotionally, whatever the case may be. They may need some support, they may need an arm around the shoulder. I think you've got to understand what players' needs are in terms of teammates at different times. And if someone's going through a patch of adversity or poor form or whatever the case may be, then certainly as teammates we need to support those players. Also, we need to demand off those players as well, because sometimes players respond better to having, being shouted at or demanded more from. And I think that's down to certainly us as senior players to recognise what scenario is suited for which player, and at which time. But certainly we stay together as a group first and foremost, whether it be good, bad or indifferent, on and off the pitch. We stay together. We've got a tight-knit dressing room, and that will remain that way. We police it well in terms of the ongoings on a day-to-day basis, and I think that gives us every opportunity. Is if we work hard, we police it and keep the standards as and where possible. It gives us every opportunity to go and perform on a Saturday, and we need to make sure that as a bare minimum, working hard and outworking the opponent is something that we do every game. And as I mentioned again, I keep saying mentioning those words, but being aggressive, having the right mentality, the right enthusiasm is very important.
Coventry have had a good start. Obviously they lost in the week, but how do you approach this particular game against them?
I think we approach it as we do most games. I think I don't think there's any specific kind of outlier with regards to we're going to approach it in this way. Obviously we'll have a tactical meeting with regards to how we're going to set up and what the game messages are, how to hurt them, how to stop them, so on and so forth. But I think in terms of the reaction from Tuesday, certainly we need to lift it. We really need to lift it. We all came off very, very angry, disappointed with getting beat 3-0. At any stage you would anyway, but in the manner that it was, and the fact that I think our first shot on target was Cameron Pring in the 90th minute or whatever it was. That's we didn't really lay a glove on them in that way. But if that is going to be the case, and the opposition are going to defend well, we need to defend well as well, and we didn't. We didn't defend nearly as good enough as what's required at this level. If we don't defend well, mistakes will be punished, and they were. So I think going into the Coventry game, I don't think we can dwell on the performance. We need to swiftly move on. The endeavours of the Championship, as well as I do, is it's one game after the other, and if you allow a poor performance to impact negatively on the next performance, it can become a downward spiral in which things can turn ugly pretty quickly. So we need to make sure that there's no hangover, if you like, from midweek. We move swiftly on. We work hard in training over the next couple of days, and we make sure that we're physically and mentally ready for the game against Coventry.
Around 3,000 fans will help give us that lift. How much encouragement does it give you that they're so committed to travelling away and supporting us?
Yeah, I mean, on behalf of all the players, I can honestly say that we really do appreciate the support. These people go out and work their backsides off from Monday to Friday to be able to make our games on a Saturday, whether it be home or away. And the away support in terms of numbers has been magnificent from the first away game of the season up to now. I think it was at Middlesbrough first away game of the season, and we travel with good numbers up there, and that's a hell of a shift in terms of a journey. So no, we really do appreciate it, and of course we endeavour to give them something to shout about in a positive way. Obviously we ask that they remain with us, which they have done so far, I think they can see that it's certainly not down to lack of effort when things aren't going our way. It's not down to bad attitude. It's not down to people not being willing to work for the shirt. I don't think that certainly we wouldn't accept that as players, and I think you can go one step further and certainly say that the gaffer wouldn't accept that. So I think, I mean, in terms of them travelling, you know, it's to see the numbers that we travel with. We out-sing home supporters on a regular basis, which is fantastic for us, and the support, we really do feel it, and we'll be working hard to make sure we repay that support with performances and results.